Welcome to the video guide for Volk's Wrath Legend, a new Agato Uprising boss fight difficulty released as part of patch 2.20 of Dragalia Lost. The first of the Legend difficulty Agato fights to be released, you'll have to bring your A-game. The units you'll use will want fully developed Tier 2 Agato weapons, max unbound 5-star dragons, the works. Spare no resources in pushing your facility levels and even weapon bonuses, as this is the new pinnacle of the Dragalia Lost endgame. My name is Xenozillus, and let's get straight to it. Surprisingly, the Legend fight follows the structure of the Expert fight more closely than Master, but diverges enough that there's plenty to talk about. Plague and Life Drain are still present throughout the fight, as well as a new mechanic, Berserk, which I'll mention when it's relevant. As with all Agato fights, certain mechanics and attacks will be skipped or repeated based on phase progression and remaining hit points. The Legend fight starts with Volk in his humanoid form. This play is almost exactly like Expert, requiring a healer with a skill prep to handle the immediate plague from Pestilent Wind. However, the sequence of this phase now progresses much faster, as well as a specific ordering of Underdog Scheme coupled with Pestilent Wind. Following the first resentment mechanic in phase 1 is Underdog Scheme. These mines are almost immediately followed by Pestilent Wind. Your healer will need to be ready to heal this off immediately with a burst heal, as Imminent Illness and Underdog's Revenge threaten to resolve at the same time, coupled with Volk descending with 4 spin attacks immediately afterwards. There is one crucial note regarding the mines. Mines in Legend now instantly remove Dragon Form, so previous tactics of using Dragon Form to pop all the mines safely no longer work. With a competent team and appropriate setup, you may end up clearing phase 1 before Resentment ends, but be prepared to pop a mine immediately after Resentment ends otherwise. After clearing the first phase, I think it's best to show you part of this diagram for a brief moment, courtesy of Blaze on the Dragalia Lost main chord. There are essentially 3 sets of loops within the main body of phase 2. Note the HP thresholds for phase progression. Once at 90% hit points, another at 75% hit points, and the final one at 30% hit points. I'll bring these up when they're relevant. We start Volk's second form with the typical opening blast accompanying the phase change, followed by an overwhelming hunger. Following a reactable charge and a few swipes is a Steel Vitality, followed by more swipes. After this, you'll see your first new mechanic, Bouncing Cyclones. 4 purple telegraphs will spring from Volk in a cross pattern. 4 cyclones will emerge, but these will bounce around the arena as soon as they hit the walls. Keep your distance from these and also be wary of them as they bounce, as the direction they bounce in is not always predictable. Following this is an arena-wide unavoidable Purple AoE. Healers will want to ensure that nobody is plagued as this hits, as it'll inflict stun otherwise. Once you push Volk past 90% hit points, you'll enter the next loop, starting with Summon Wolves, followed by Overwhelming Hunger. This can often trip people up. If Volk used Overwhelming Hunger in the previous loop before being pushed past 90% hit points into loop 2, there's a chance you'll see Overwhelming Hunger twice in a row. No matter whether or not you're plagued, you should avoid this, as following this is a new Underdog Scheme. In this part of the fight, Overwhelming Hunger is always followed by 4 black mines. These mines inflict plague, and taking these mines while plagued will instead inflict a strong poison that periodically drains you to 1 hit point. These are coupled with the arena-wide Purple AoE. Leave the mines until after the Purple AoE and allow your healer to top you up before you take the mines. You'll also have to watch out for your angle of approach, as the small explosions from popping mines slightly overlap. You'll also want to note that you'll be contending with wolves the entire time. If wolves are still alive on the field, taking an attack from them can plague you at an inopportune time. Following some charges and bouncing cyclones, you'll be hit with a Steel Vitality. This is the point where it's safe to remove Plague. After this is a second Underdog Scheme. This variant spawns 4 black mines as well as 2 red and 2 green ones. This is quickly followed by Snapping Squalls, so be wary of running into mines as you position to spread the cyclones. Handle the status mines before the plague mines, as after a charge and a swipe, you'll be met with another arena-wide purple, followed by more squalls. Volk then restarts this part of the loop by summoning more wolves. The most frequent run-ender I've seen in this part of the fight is mishandling the plague mines, getting poisoned, and then finished off by the arena-wide unavoidable damage. Saving players from poison is difficult, if not outright impossible, depending on which of the healer skills are available, which comes down to not getting hit by avoidable damage. Once you've pushed Volk's hit points to below 75%, Volk starts the next part of the fight by summoning a Blood Moon. Unlike previous difficulties of the fight, this Blood Moon is untargetable. It'll pulse every 10 seconds, dealing 100 damage to each player and healing with lifesteal. If the Blood Moon bar fills completely, the Blood Moon will fall and instantly kill every player with 99,999 damage. There's no way to damage this Blood Moon. The only way to stop the Blood Moon from healing is to be plagued. In slower fights, every player will need to maintain Plague, since spreading Plague to the Blood Moon doesn't halt its healing entirely, as the Blood Moon's Plague wears off before the next lifesteal tick, meaning the Blood Moon will continue to heal from unplagued players. The Blood Moon will be active until you push Volk past 30% hit points, so this part of the fight turns into a race to push Volk to the next phase before the Blood Moon bar completes. After summoning the Blood Moon, Volk starts a Resentment phase coupled with purple swipes. In between swipes will be an Overwhelming Hunger. Avoid this if you're plagued, taking the hit otherwise in order to curb the Blood Moon's healing. Following the swipes is the arena-wide Purple AoE. As before, healers will have to heal off the plague to prevent party members from being stunned, as this is followed by Snapping Squalls. After Squalls, we enter the last loop before the final phase of Legend Volk. Starting with an Overwhelming Hunger coupled with an Underdog scheme, spawning 4 black mines coupled with 2 red and 2 green mines. Healers will have to remove any lingering plague in order for status mines to be removed before plague mines are triggered again to maintain plague uptime. At the same time, you'll have to contend with Snapping Squalls. Once Snapping Squalls finishes, take the chance to remove any remaining plague mines in time for bouncing Cyclones and Steel Vitality. Following this is the arena-wide Purple AoE coupled with 4 Plague Mines. Healers should heal off the Plague in time for the AoE's impact before all players hit a mine to maintain Plague uptime. Following a charge and some swipes will be another arena-wide Purple, followed by 4 charges. After the charges resolve, more Black Mines will appear for you to reapply Plague to yourself before a Steel Vitality hits, before the loop begins anew. In a nutshell, this loop boils down to maximizing Plague uptime, delaying heals as much as possible to maintain Plague while slowly pushing Volk to 30% hit points. Remember to handle status mines before Plague mines and the rest should fall into place, as long as nobody takes a stray hit requiring excessive healing. Once you hit 30% hit points, the real fun begins as Volk enters his Berserk mode. In Berserk mode, Volk gains 5 times strength and 4 times defense, and also remains in permanent overdrive with full resists to all afflictions. However, his overdrive bar also takes 5 times more damage from 4 strikes. Once broken, his defense returns to 1.25 times the base level. This is still slightly above normal, but this is the best you're going to get. Telegraphs for swipes, charges, and Overwhelming Hunger disappear in the Berserk phase, but targets of charge are marked by a crosshair. Once Volk hits Berserk mode, another Resentment phase begins coupled with a series of swipes, back swipes, or charges. This is followed by a Steel Vitality, closely followed by an arena-wide Purple. Consider diving into the Resentment Fog to plague yourself with Steel Vitality, but also note that it deals 5 times damage. After this, Volk enters his final loop of the fight. There's actually nothing too complex here, as all mechanics here have been seen already, minus the missing telegraphs. You'll have to contend with wolves again, dealing with Cyclones, Overwhelming Hunger, Steel Vitality, arena-wide Purples, and so on. The major thing to note is that there's a degree of randomness in the mechanics you'll see. After an Overwhelming Hunger, there's always a 50-50 between a Steel Vitality and an arena-wide Purple AoE. Since there's also a 40% chance of snapping Squalls after the room-wide hit, if you don't see Squalls, then the next charge you see will actually be replaced by 4 charges in a row. Overall though, this loop shouldn't repeat too many times. Due to Volk's 4-strike vulnerability during this phase, spamming 4 strikes should allow you some breathing room where no mechanics are occurring. Handle the mechanics as you've managed them before, and you'll finish off Volk before you know it. And that's about it. This is definitely a fight that harkens back to the old days where mechanics took a lot of practice to handle. Well, depending on whether or not you choose to handle mechanics, as that hinges pretty heavily on team composition. No doubt, you will already have seen 2 speed clear compositions floating around, both of which use a Halloween Lowen and 2 Azaliths, with the 4th slot being taken by a Marth or an Emma. The Marth composition can clear the entire fight in under a minute, skipping the majority of mechanics, but it requires much more coordination than the Emma composition, which can clear in about 2.5 minutes. Whether to cheese or not is a personal choice, and I'll definitely be leaving that for you to decide. There's plenty of videos about detailing how to cheese the fight, so I'll leave it to those videos for teaching you how to build for cheese compositions. For standard compositions, the healer is typically Halloween Lowen. More confident teams will field a Valentine's Hildegard. In terms of DPS units, most successful runs will require a source of Dispel, a variety of both stun and sleep res adventurers, as well as one unit with decent 4-strike damage such as a sword or Gala Leonidas. Fitting a Leonidas into the team can make runs very comfortable. Well, as comfortable as you can expect with the storm of mechanics you have to deal with. Units able to abuse dragon forms such as Yuden and Mim are also good for the fight, whereas units too reliant on burn can expect to fall off in the final phase due to Volk's 4 resistances. This fight isn't easy, but it's definitely one of the more intrinsically rewarding fights to clear that we've gotten in a while. As always, take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.